1853, during the Mexican-American War, as we discussed before, we started paying for a telegraph tax for a war that took 3 years, okay? To this day, if you're talking on your phone, your land-based phone, you're still paying for that telegraph tax. So according to what you just said a moment ago, by virtue of the fact that it's about 100 years old, it's warranted and should be okay. The fact that you told a story that's 100 years old doesn't make it right, neither is the telegraph tax. And you're talking about the appraisers out there shooting themselves in the foot. The problem is you're not an appraiser, you're an AMC, and they're not helped by the fact that you got a fucking double-barreled shotgun at their feet shooting them. Okay? Let them shoot themselves in the feet. Don't help them with it with your fucking own gun.
And thanks for the beer.
If I was afraid, I'd become an AMC too. That's exactly what I would do.
Oh, and by the way, please understand that this is all in good spirit. Now, right now, a big thing going on in the appraisal community. Do you find it interesting that right now a bunch of mortgage brokers and bankers are talking about the lives of appraisers? The one thing you absolutely nailed is they need to get their shit together and fight their own battles. The fact of the matter is we're fighting it for them. But to suggest that they're out there okay with the customary fee disclosures that are going on right now is completely erroneous. As we speak right now, appraisal groups across the country are trying to put together groups that are going to give them what is their reasonable and customary fee. Now, here's a question I have for all of you right now. Okay? Now, first of all, who's been in the business for longer than 10 years? Okay. All right. How many of you have tried to get an appraiser to go out there and do an appraisal that was fraudulent? Raise your hand. I'll be damned. All right. The AMC guy's raising his hand. Oh, by the way, here's a really funny side note of this.
I'm trying to get along right now, so I know it's a problem.
Here's a funny side note of this: is there's a group called CoStar Appraisal out of the Midwest who's offering venture capital to mortgage banking because they want to get to the banking industry. This isn't a case of Wells Fargo and Bank of America going out there and owning AMCs, which, by the way, is inherently problematic, right? It's a case of an AMC going out there and buying a bank. We've created a system that is so corrupt that AMCs are right now going out there and funding loans. That's a problem or a conflict of interest, or so we would believe if we were listening to the Frank Dodd bill. Would you agree? So we got some problems here. So if nobody's out there trying to create fraud doing appraisals, right, through appraisal management companies, how many people out there think that your appraisers who are doing a job working 6 hours on an appraisal should get a fee of $350 to $400 per appraisal? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
How many of them think that they should get $175 or less? Okay, so here's the problem. Here's the difficult conundrum we find ourselves in right now, is you're finding these appraisal management companies that are putting together these fee disclosures that are being discussed right now in Washington, and what they're doing is they're limiting the fees. Now you say the appraisers are going out there and fighting for, excuse me, shh, let me finish my point and we'll shut up and start having fun again. But the implication or the suggestion that appraisers are going out there right now and through fair market could go out there and find a fee that's reasonable is not realistic, because they're beholden to the appraisal management companies of which they get their business from. So it becomes the appraisal management companies, such as yourself, who can then control where the appraisals go, and you can dictate the price. And what that does is drive it down. To suggest it's fair market is disingenuous. It really honestly is. So appraisal management, I understand the whole issue with it. That we want to have a situation where mortgage brokers and bankers can't go out there and push them, and tell them to go get a value. By the way, how many people told people to go get values fraudulently? Shit. You're not helping his argument, guys. So the suggestion that they can go out there and find their own business is, like I said, I don't necessarily think completely honest.
Well, he didn't say that though.
They did.
No, yes, he said when the private, he said you're beholden to all this bullshit, is what he said. And when the private sector comes back, then maybe there's some hope, is what he said.
Okay. So until the private
sector comes back,
and what's the insinuation there? When the private sector comes back, then apparently rules and regulations will change. But until then, you must enjoy the flogging that you'll continue to get from the AMCs, right?
But that's the truth.
That's the truth. But should we accept it?
It doesn't matter if you accept it or not. It's the fucking truth. It's the truth.
What do you guys think? Anybody have opinions?
No.